It was supposed to be just another office party, another night of casual chats, laughter, and perhaps a bit of lighthearted fun. But for Sarah, a devoted wife, it quickly turned into a nightmare that would forever change the course of her life. Sarah had always trusted her husband, Mark. They were high school sweethearts, and despite the ups and downs life threw their way, their bond had always remained strong. They had built a life together, full of memories, shared experiences, and dreams for the future. But as she stood in front of the mirror that evening, getting ready for the office party, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. A slight twinge of unease nestled in her stomach, but she shrugged it off. After all, it was just another work event, right? She slipped into her favorite dress, styled her hair just the way Mark liked it, and grabbed her purse. Her heart was racing, not from excitement but from an unfamiliar feeling. It was the first time in a long while that she had been unsure of something. Was it just the party or something deeper? She couldn't place it, but she went anyway. Little did she know that night, she would discover something that would forever shake her faith in the one person she had loved unconditionally. The venue was bustling with energy as Sarah arrived. Twinkling lights adorned the ceiling, and cheerful conversations filled the air. She spotted Mark near the refreshments table, talking animatedly with a group of colleagues. His laughter carried across the room, a sound she had always adored. For a moment, her unease seemed silly. Maybe she was just overthinking, she told herself. Mark noticed her and waved, his smile warm and inviting. He introduced her to his coworkers, each one praising him for his dedication and teamwork. Sarah felt a sense of pride. This was the man she had always believed in. Yet, as the evening wore on, she started to notice subtle things. Mark was unusually distracted, his phone lighting up every few minutes with messages. Each time, he would glance at the screen, his smile faltering ever so slightly before quickly putting the phone away. When Sarah asked about it, he brushed it off. "Just work stuff," he said with a reassuring pat on her shoulder. Still, there was a shift in the atmosphere. Sarah's instincts, the ones she had always trusted, were whispering that something wasn't right. She decided to observe, not accuse. After all, Mark had never given her a reason to doubt him before. As the night progressed, Mark began drifting from conversation to conversation, always keeping his phone within arm's reach. Sarah, meanwhile, mingled with his colleagues, trying to make the best of the evening. But in the back of her mind, the unease grew stronger. Something was happening. She just didn't know what yet. As the evening carried on, Sarah found herself wandering the room, hoping to shake the gnawing feeling in her gut. She chatted politely with Mark's colleagues, sharing laughs and stories, but her attention kept drifting back to him. He seemed unusually preoccupied, stealing glances at his phone and stepping away for brief moments. At one point, Sarah noticed Mark deep in conversation with a young woman from his team. Her name was Emily, a bright, ambitious employee who had joined the company just a few months ago. Emily seemed friendly enough, but their interaction felt different. Mark leaned in just a little too closely, laughing at something she said, his expression more animated than Sarah had seen all evening. Trying not to jump to conclusions, Sarah reminded herself that Mark had always been sociable and warm. But when she approached them, the atmosphere shifted. Mark straightened up quickly, his laughter fading. "Oh, Sarah. Have you met Emily?" he said, his tone overly cheerful. Emily smiled politely and extended her hand. "It's so nice to finally meet you, Sarah. Mark talks about you all the time." Her words should have been comforting, but something in her tone felt rehearsed. Sarah's instincts were now screaming at her, but she maintained her composure, exchanging pleasantries before excusing herself. She didn't want to make a scene or seem paranoid, but the pieces weren't adding up. She decided to step outside for a moment to clear her head. The cool night air was a relief as she leaned against a railing, trying to make sense of her emotions. Could it be that she was overreacting? Or was there something more to Mark's behavior tonight? Just then, she heard a faint buzz. Looking around, she realized Mark had left his phone on the nearby patio table. It lit up with a new message. Her heart sank as she read the name on the screen. Emily. The message preview was brief, but enough to send chills down Sarah's spine. Can we talk? I'm really confused. Her hands trembled as she stepped back, unsure of what to do next. Should she confront him now, or wait until she had more answers? Sarah knew this was the moment that would change everything. Sarah stood frozen, staring at Mark's phone as if it held all the answers to the questions swirling in her mind. The message was innocent enough on the surface, but paired with Mark's behavior that evening, it felt like the final piece of a troubling puzzle. Her heart raced, and her breath quickened. She had always trusted Mark implicitly, but tonight, doubt had begun to creep into her once unshakable faith in their relationship. Taking a deep breath, she made a decision. She wouldn't jump to conclusions, not yet. There could be an explanation, she told herself. Maybe Emily was dealing with something personal, and Mark was just being supportive. But her instincts whispered otherwise, and Sarah knew she needed clarity. She slipped back into the party, her eyes scanning the crowd for Mark. He was near the bar, laughing with a few colleagues. His carefree demeanor only deepened Sarah's confusion. Could someone who seemed so relaxed really be hiding something? She approached him with steady resolve, masking her emotions. "Mark, can I talk to you for a moment? It's important." Mark's smile faltered for a split second, but he nodded.
Sure.
"What's up?" They stepped into a quieter corner of the venue, away from prying eyes and ears. Sarah looked at him, searching his face for any signs of guilt or dishonesty. "I saw your phone," she began, her voice calm but firm. "Emily sent you a message. She said she's confused and wants to talk." "What's going on, Mark?" Mark's expression shifted. First surprise, then something Sarah couldn't quite place. "It's nothing," he said quickly. "She's been going through a rough time at work, and I've been helping her navigate it. That's all." "Is that all?" Sarah pressed gently, her gaze unwavering. "Because tonight, you've been distant, preoccupied. And this message, it doesn't feel like nothing." Mark hesitated, his usual confidence seeming to waver. "Sarah, you have to trust me. There's nothing inappropriate going on. Emily's a colleague, and I'm just trying to help her. You know I'd never." But before he could finish, Sarah interrupted, her voice softer now. "I want to believe you, Mark. I really do. But trust isn't blind, it's built on honesty. If there's something more to this, I need to know. Not later, not when it's convenient, right now." Mark's response hung in the balance, and for the first time in their marriage, Sarah felt like she was looking at a stranger. Sarah's mind raced as she and Mark stood in silence, the weight of their conversation pressing down on them. She wanted to trust him, to believe that this was nothing more than a misunderstanding amplified by poor communication. But her intuition, something that had never failed her, urged her to dig deeper. "Mark," she said softly but firmly, "if there's anything else I need to know, now is the time to tell me. I don't want to find out later that there's more to this. Be honest with me." Mark met her gaze, his expression weary. "I promise, Sarah, that's everything. I've never crossed any lines with Emily or anyone else. I know it was wrong to hide her messages from you, but I didn't know how to bring it up without it sounding worse than it was." Sarah sighed, her emotions a mix of relief and frustration. She wanted to believe him, truly she did. But something about the situation still felt unresolved. "Okay," she said after a long pause. "I'll take your word for it. But Mark, we can't just brush this under the rug. We need to set some boundaries, not just for Emily but for us. If we don't talk openly, things like this will only fester." Mark nodded, his face softening. "You're right. I've been an idiot for not coming to you first. I'll address this with Emily directly and make sure she knows that these boundaries can't be crossed again. And from now on, I'll make sure we talk about anything like this before it gets out of hand." Sarah appreciated his willingness to take responsibility, but she wasn't ready to let the matter rest entirely. "And I need transparency, Mark," she added. "No more hiding things, no matter how small you think they are. If we're going to move past this, we need to rebuild the trust that's been shaken tonight." Mark reached for her hand, his grip firm but gentle. "I understand, Sarah. I don't want to lose what we have. You mean everything to me, and I'll do whatever it takes to make this right." Sarah looked into his eyes, searching for sincerity. She saw a glimpse of the man she had loved all these years, the man she wanted to believe in. "All right," she said quietly. "We'll work through this together. But Mark, if I ever feel this way again, there won't be a second chance." Mark nodded solemnly. "There won't be a next time, Sarah. I promise." As they walked back into the party, hand in hand, Sarah's heart felt slightly lighter, though the night's events had left a mark. She hoped that Mark's promises weren't just words, but the start of a renewed commitment to their marriage. Only time would tell if the trust they were rebuilding could withstand the cracks that had formed. The drive home was quiet, filled with unspoken thoughts and lingering tension. Sarah stared out of the car window, the city lights flickering past like echoes of the evening's chaos. Mark occasionally glanced her way, as if wanting to say something, but the weight of their earlier conversation hung heavy in the air. When they arrived home, Sarah went straight to the living room and sat down, her hands clasped tightly together. Mark followed, hesitating for a moment before sitting beside her. The silence between them was almost deafening. Finally, Sarah spoke. "Mark, tonight wasn't just about Emily. It was about us, about how we communicate, how we trust each other. I don't want to live in a marriage where doubt has a place to grow. I need to know we're on the same team." Mark nodded, his face etched with regret. "You're right, Sarah. I messed up by not telling you everything from the start. I thought I was protecting you, but I see now that keeping things from you only caused more harm. I'll do better. I mean that." His words sounded genuine, but Sarah needed actions, not just promises. "This isn't just about fixing things with me," she said. "You need to address this situation with Emily in a way that's respectful but firm. She needs to understand where the boundaries are, and you need to hold yourself accountable." Mark agreed. "I'll talk to her first thing Monday morning. I'll make it clear that our relationship is strictly professional and that I can't be her go-to person for personal matters anymore." Sarah felt a small wave of relief, but knew their work wasn't done. "And for us," she added, "I think we need to spend more time reconnecting. Life has been so busy lately, and maybe we've let that distance creep in without realizing it. Let's not just fix this issue. Let's make our marriage stronger." Mark reached for her hand, his grip warm and reassuring. "I want that too, Sarah. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure you never have to feel this way again." That night, as they sat together in the quiet of their home, Sarah felt a glimmer of hope. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild, but she believed in their ability to move forward together. It wouldn't be easy, and it wouldn't happen overnight, but as long as they faced their challenges side by side, there was a chance to turn this difficult moment into a new beginning. The nightmare of the office party wasn't the end of their story. It was a wake-up call, a reminder that love isn't just about the good times, but about working through the tough ones, too. And for Sarah and Mark, this was their chance to do just that.